Hello and welcome to episode 90 of the OzLoL podcast. My name is Colossus. We're going to be talking this week about OPL Week 3. We're going to be talking about patch 5. Endless. Because we've got the end of 5.10 and the beginning of 5.11. So, yes, the end of cycle of patch.
Games.
So it needs to do like a cover version of the song Circle of Life, but do it from the perspective of podcasters who never stop talking about patch notes. That'd be really good. So if you're musically creative, you need to do that for this show.
I think this particular episode should be called Patch Point. No, I've stuffed it up twice already. Patch 5.1 recurring.
Yeah, 5.1.
Just
nice.
an infinite number.
You put that in the document now, and I'll make sure it's named that.
All right,
that was
I'll
good.
do that
I like
now.
that one. All right. Yes. Well, as you heard, we're joined by Stephen and by Victor.
It's good to be back. It's been
Good
a
to
while,
have you back.
my friends. It's been a while, my friends. I'm really glad that I could come back. It was a sad time while I was away, but I'm ready for more happy times ahead with the fantastic OzLoL community. Love you guys.
We honestly didn't pay him
No
to say
pressure
that.
though.
And
Yeah.
please be excellent to each other and
Yeah.
party hard.
Party.
Party
Yes.
things,
Good
right?
old Bill
If
and
you're
Ted.
If you're gonna reference Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, you need to get the quotes right.
Sort of.
Oh, wow. Apparently we have a very high standard of Bill and Ted quotes on this show. I didn't realize.
You damn it!
Wow.
Keep talking like that, I'll put you in the Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden, excellent. See, that's how it's done.
Yeah. I don't think I've actually ever seen... I've only seen parts of that movie, so I honestly couldn't tell you whether
All
it's a
right,
good quote or not.
we're gonna have to bring the podcast to a close.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
Kyle
and
gets to
I'll go home and
Excellent
watch Bill and Ted.
Adventure before this can continue.
Yeah, okay. That's it. We're done. All right, see you next week.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are sponsored by the Trinity Force Network. And if you'd like to support us as they support the network, you can go to patreon.com/TForce Network. We are currently sitting at, now I always forget to check, but I think we're about $1,200 a month. Working towards that $2,000 a month mark. I think the first payments have started coming in. So, yeah, that's going to enable us to keep doing more things. And once we get to the 2,000 mark, then I can definitely go to Adam and say, hey, you need to pay for us to go to, you know, all this cool stuff in Australia. And then we'll definitely do some videos and whatnot.
I think Adam said 5,000 and we're off to America.
Yeah, that's it. 5,000 we're to America. That's the dream. So,
Yeah. So get on that, guys. Modra.
yeah,
Start donating.
come on. Help us get free trips to America. Oh, the document changed while I was watching. There's also, you should make sure you check out the Trinity Force proper, the T-Force LCS rundown, and the Four Awards podcast. So they are all, if you go to trinityforcenetwork.com, you'll get all of those different shows, and they're all free, and they will continue to be free. All right, well, let's talk about APL, because that's what we're about. So, this week we've had a bunch of games, the results being interesting and good. So, of course, spoilers, games this week. So, on last Thursday, we had wins for Immunity, Chiefs, and Direwolves. And on Monday, we had wins for Immunity, Avant-Garde, Direwolves, and Chiefs. Some of the big games being, well, we'll talk about all these games. So, I gotta say, I was very... Let's talk about Immunity. Normally we've been bagging Immunity this week, or the past few weeks, because they've been playing badly.
I spend most of my time defending them.
You spent defending them. But this
Or
week,
running damage control, as the case may be.
they are probably the biggest winners of... I think they are probably... in fact, particularly on Monday, they were standout performers. So, they went 2-0 this week. The game versus Absolute was a bit shaky, but ended up being pretty good. But I tell you what, the game versus Legacy, oh my giddy aunt. If they can play like that every single week, every single game, they are going to absolutely be going to finals, and they will be true contenders. They were really impressive.
Yeah.
So Steve, is the roster we have for Immunity now the locked-in roster we're going to have for the rest of this split? Or are we still going
I
to see
doubt
more
it.
changes to junglers and whatever?
We're planning on
Okay.
having a roster change every week,
Yeah.
just to spice things up.
It's actually become Survivor, and every week somebody gets voted off the island.
Right. In the Legacy versus Immune, like this is definitely the match of the week. If you're gonna watch one game out of the 8 that we've had, that's the one to watch.
Yep.
It really was good, and continuing like we're gonna put the shoe on the other foot, and I'm gonna bag Immunity for a change because there was this tower dive that was it at the Spawn. I think it was Spawn who called the least successful tower dive that worked. I think is the way he phrased it. It was this, like Immunity blew like 6 summoner spells to get 1 kill under tower, but it was a 1 for 0, and we got the tower and got like vision control based on it. So definitely worth those 6 summoners.
Well, yeah, but nobody died, and that was, I mean, Mickey did well, but I tell you what, it was the fact that everybody managed to get load and not die, even though they burned their summoners, it was still pretty impressive.
Yeah. It all came from like the last dot on Rumble's Flame Spitter from Ryu. Just that getting tower aggro at the worst possible time, causing like a defensive flash from him, giving aggro onto the wrong person. It just kind of cascaded from there. Whereas if that Flame Spitter tick hadn't happened, it would have just been a textbook, just kill him under tower. It was a really good, like that's successful yet expensive tower dive really did set the motion for the rest of the game. Like, because Immunity got ahead. They were already ahead prior to that, but like that really, they dug their feet into the ground and said, "We are taking this game," and they just did not relinquish control. It was really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. For me, actually, Ryu was the standout before. Well, sorry, he wasn't standout. He was really impressive. Like every week, I've been saying he's the weak link. He does all this dumb stuff, and he did a bit of that versus Absolute, like hanging around tower when he's dangerously low, giving up easy kills, just doing badly in lane, and then doing competently in the team fight situation. But in this game, he did really well. There was a 3v, a 3-man push on top, completely avoided. Just went bottom with everybody else, and that's what brought on that tower dive. And from that point, he just played really smart. Like, it was like a completely different player. And in the end, I think he ended up 8, 1, and 7, which is just like on a rumble. It was, and he had some brilliant equalizers. Like, everything about what he did in that game was spot on, and that's what Immunity needs. Like, and Denny as well, actually, because Denny also has a bit of a tendency to sort of hang around when he's low and kind of be trying to play life on the edge.
That sort of stuff, yeah.
But in this, this game,
on that, I want to focus on that. Like, when previously, because we've been doing this podcast a while, and we've brought this point up previously, is that there's a transition time where it takes people a little while to get used to a new roster. And we were worried about, how's that going to affect Chiefs? How's it going to affect new? Like, because there was a lot of roster changes. And the first few weeks, it was quite obvious that the new team wasn't quite gelling together. Now, because Ryu's mechanics, they're fine, but his decision-making has never really been his strong suit. But now that the communication has started, like, now that we've had a lot more scrims and practiced a lot together as a team, obviously the communication and decision-making is a lot clearer coming through as a team rather than on an individual basis. And the same goes with Denny, and he's on the same page as T-Gun now, whereas in the first few weeks you could tell they weren't quite meeting their synergy. So it looks like they've gotten through that difficult teething time, and now it looks like it's going to be all good from here.
Well, he's hoping. I mean, go Vic.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's really good for people who watch the OPL to keep in mind that it's not like LCS teams who all live together and eat together and breathe the same air and piss in the same toilet, They're all, they play together just about all day, every day, and then they go and get food together, whereas the OPL teams is more, okay, guys, all right, just make sure you come Thursday night at this time and we'll be playing, and then they go about their day as per normal. Like, they don't get as much time to really get to know each other and play games together and do all that sort of stuff together. So it does take a lot longer for an OPL team to...
I personally think it's the pissing in the toilet thing that's the really cohesive team-building moment.
That's right. They've got their toilet advantage.
Yes, the toilet advantage.
That's how me and my best friend Bo bonded, He'd come and I came to his house... And every time I went to use this toilet, it was either yellow or had some kind of brown in there, and it was absolutely disgusting.
Anyway,
he's my best friend.
This week in OPL.
Yeah, it's OPL. I mean, Immunity's got a really solid core. Like T-Gun, I mean, I would say that it's him and Ejim are the two best supports in the league at the moment. And, you know, in some ways, I actually think he's probably the best. Cheese is mechanically incredibly gifted, got a pretty good champion pool, and you know, and that's been the case for a while. Like he's always been good, and he's always struggled to find a team that's held it together around him. Soul Strikes has been around for a while. He's come in and he's like, I think he found his feet really quickly. So you got those three players are solid. Two of them being exceptional. Yeah. You know, so to see Ryu and Denian absolutely like nail it in their lanes, and particularly I think Minky went on tilt big time in that game. Like he just really, they just picked on him relentlessly, and so I think Soul Strikes played a big part of that because he kept ganking top. You know, so even though maybe Ryu may not have been like, you know, sort of a swiper level outplaying Minky, you know, because Soul Strikes was ganking well, it allowed them to get this huge advantage, you know, and just continue to pummel him. And that was really impressive. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of I sort of felt through the whole game that this actually shows promise. Like it's not just that they're doing well, but this actually shows promise for the rest of the season, and that from this point, real good things can happen.
Yeah. Well, it's important to note that they got ahead early with that awesome over the Raptors.
Yes.
Binding onto the mid Cogmore. Yep. You know, like that play really set the tone for everything, because once the team all are on the same page, they know how to stay on the same page. It's when they get behind early and people start stressing out and stuff. That was where, because that's what we've experienced up until now. So we've seen that the new Team Immunity lineup can keep it together when they're ahead, but we've also seen that they can fall apart if they get behind. So if we go up against
driven team,
yeah, it seems to be that way. Even though we've gone like an 80% roster upgrade in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
You know? Like, just
and your biggest tilters on the team are all gone, and now you still have an emotionally driven team.
Yeah.
Well, I think to be fair, most teams in the OPL are pretty emotionally driven. So, yeah, and I actually I really want to recommend that play. So if you haven't seen it, you should go and watch that first blood on Choo-Choo's, who's playing mid Cogmore. You know, T-Gun got in the Raptor camp and just landed a binding right. It was basically right on the edge of the turret aggro, and Cheese just finished him off like perfectly. So, I mean, that was just a seriously awesome play, and really, I think, I mean, Cheese did, apart from one failed combo attempt to try and push him backwards, which nobody saw. Like he just absolutely drilled Choo-Choo's on that combo. Just, I mean, his immobility became a huge issue because Soul Strikes was all over him. Cheese was just hammering him with the zoning with his ear. It was just, it was great. So
we should probably move on because we got like a few billion patch notes.
Yeah.
To get through, but I just want to point out, I didn't actually get to see the whole Absolute versus Cheese game because my YouTube stream, my Twitch stream wasn't working, and my YouTube stream had a big black banner through the middle saying "Please stand by" for the entire time. So I didn't get to see 100% of what was going on. But I want to Absolute picked a support Malphite. I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was the weirdest choice. Like, it was late in the draft too. It's not like they early picked Malphite and then they got counterpicked in lane, decided to pick up the Rumble. It was like, oh, our secret weapon, we're going to pull out Malphite and support.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, if you're going to have a secret weapon, get a Death Ray or something, not a BB gun. Come on, what's going on? Don't get me wrong, Malphite's ultimate is amazing, but if you can't build tank stats on him, like as you would be able to do in the top lane, or even a jungle Malphite, you know, then what's he doing apart from waiting for that cooldown?
I mean, I guess maybe he was trying to do some sort of fake out. In the end, Swiper got Hecarim, so it's like he's always going to pick Hecarim. At the moment, I mean, Hecarim is so good, like, and Swiper does so well on him. He's always going to pick him whether I mean, almost any matchup.
Like Chiefs draft got like the best champions in the meta at the moment. Like they got Kalista, they got Hecarim, they got Gragas, they got Nautilus. You know, like.
Yeah.
None of these were banned. None of them were picked. Like, yeah, and the Absolute's comp just didn't really have an answer for it. Like, they had a really good team fighting Wombo combo, but they're just gonna get outmetted in that draft. So you know, like with Severe, Malphite, Rumble, Sejuani, you'd expect, you know, that's a huge amount of AoE, engage, chase, lockdown, just we win the 5v5s no matter what situation. But
yeah,
against just these very powerful champions, like, yeah, I think that was a drafting issue.
Yeah, and I mean, Chiefs.
It's a cool idea, though. Cool idea. I approve.
Yeah. And, I mean, like, Egypt just... I mean, he's got a hook champion who's a tank. Like, really, that's not a great idea to give Egypt that at all, because he's really good with those sorts of champions. So, I mean, Chiefs just... I mean, they just put on a clinic in both their games. Like, in versus Legacy on Thursday, they just picked Legacy apart, just completely dismembered them. Pushed Minky way on tilt, and then just drilled, and Tally as well. They just hammered Tally. So yeah, it wasn't actually a great week for Legacy, but Chiefs did really well. Actually, I thought I mentioned the Direwolves versus Sin game, because I think Sin did pretty well in both of their games. So it was pretty even. Really, it was only and you know, to be fair, Direwolves were missing a player. So Perfection was. I think he was banned. He had to have a week off for some reason. I can't remember why. I think because of bad behavior. I think it was like...
You talking about Perfection?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I sent the news release for that earlier. It was someone screenshotted one of his games where he was being particularly toxic.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a bit of talk amongst the pro players about whether it was just this one game that got him banned or whether it was repeated behavior, but he's been punished for this sort of stuff before, and both times he's made an effort to improve, but he's obviously slipped back into an old habit or two, and, you know, just, oi, you said you'd be better, you know, so it's probably something like that.
And, I mean, it seems pretty reasonable. And he only got a 1 week ban, I think, you know, so it's not like a huge thing where well, actually, to just go into something else, there was a guy who got banned for a whole year from competitive play for buying an account. Like, he bought a level 30 account to level to Challenger.
I Will Dominate was banned for a year for just being a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that sort of thing's like that's
toxic behavior.
Not to go into the whole thing. Like, I've heard that this guy got banned for but he bought on. He didn't. As far as I'm aware, he didn't elo boost or anything. He got banned for a whole year. He's a Challenger player for C9 Tempest, I think. And he got a whole year ban for buying an account, like a level 30 account, instead of leveling it up to 30. Anyway, that's just an aside. I just thought, I mean, Sim were really good. Their movement's really great. Like, I think they're a really solid team. And there was only, like, I think it was really because they tried to sneak out this. They tried to. Well, they got a Baron, but they gave up 4 towers and a kill for it. And Direwolves just snowballed from there. So it's just one of those sort of decision making things that, like, I mean, Rosie in top lane, I mean, he's great. He's done really well in top lane, and his now is really impressive. But it's just a decision making thing there, which I think they've just got to. It's just an experience thing. You can't really beat that, you know, the experience of going through those things. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Sin this week.
I think once they get to know some of the other teams a bit better, then they'll really start to show up even more. Maybe even be the other team that takes a game off the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then that's another team I'll have to coach.
Yeah. Well, that's the sign of true victory, is you know, whether you coach them or not.
But it's nice to see. It's nice to see new teams being really competitive and not going, 2-12 for the whole split.
Actually, sorry, I got my notes confused. It's actually Sudden Fear that gave up the Baron for 4 turrets. Sin tried to sneak in a Baron, and they got taken down with a low. Yeah, it was... Sorry, no, that's right. Direwolves... So, Sin won a team fight. Instead of getting mid-turret, they went to Baron. Juves was playing Nunu. He got wiped out immediately. Like, he couldn't even consume onto the Baron because he got hit by one of the Baron's attacks. They all got low. Chuffer comes in and starts cleaning them up. And it was just... It was all over from there. Where it was... Sorry, it was Sudden Fear, who also, again, playing very successfully. Played against AV. They gave up this Baron for 4 turrets and a kill, and it just wiped them out of the game. And AV had a...
It takes me back to that conversation that you and I've had many times about when it's worth going for a Baron and when it's not. And that was definitely not.
No.
Yeah, like if it's a Hail Mary pass and you're going to lose the game if you don't get it, then sure.
Yep.
But if you're trying to be sneaky and you're not quite high enough level or have enough health bars and all that sort of stuff, it's really not worth the risk because it is a huge risk. Like if they're beating you normally, like you do not want that Baron debuff on you.
No.
To make the next fight even easier and to give them a head start in damage. Like it's just not.
Well, Sunfear got the early lead, so they're actually doing pretty well, but then AV started to claw it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got to the 22 minutes and they're like, okay, let's give this a go. And they got Baron, but yeah, they obviously didn't realize how quickly AV could, turn that around and get as many turrets as they did. So it was.
The towers might as well not be there if they're not being defended because all you need is a minion wave, or even just a what's his name, anchor dude,
Nautilus.
Nautilus. Sorry, I'm not feeling well, so I keep forgetting everything today. If you've got a Nautilus, you just chuck your shield up, tank a few hits, and you're 80 carry, and you're just top lane, and will tear it down in a few seconds. And if no one comes to defend it, you can continue that push onto the next tower. And if no one comes to defend it, you get the inhibitor of someone. Yeah, like you could get so much off a lack of positioning.
Yep. And in the case of AV, they had Sejuani and Shelby just like it was still neck and neck. So AV really they got the lead. They got all these towers. Sunfear made this great rotation to bot to get the the middle bottom turret, but then Shelby lands this glacial prison that was just amazing. 3-man. It was I think it was mid and bot and the support, and it was done. The game was over. So they just had these tanks. They had Cho'Gath and Sejuani and Nah. So their CC was just astounding. Like, just so much CC to be had there.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that game without the black banner.
Yeah. That was a really good game. I really liked Sunfear versus AV. I thought it was a great game. And actually, Direwolves versus Sin. There's actually a bunch of really good games this week. Like, to watch. Like, fun games to watch. So
I'll take your word for it. Damn YouTube.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's... I should mention the standings. And then we'll quickly talk about the schedule. So the standings are...
We're not the bottom anymore. Yay.
Yay. So, Chiefs, 5-0. Well, this actually should be 6-0. I don't know. They must not have updated. So these might not be fully updated.
They haven't updated Monday the
for the
details in there,
Okay. So this is the end of technically week 2. So Chiefs are 5-0. They get 6-0. Direwolves 4-1. Legacy 3-2. Avant 2-2. Sin Game 2-all. Immunity 2-3. Absolute 1-4, and Sunfear is 0-5. So that's
one more win and Immunity are back on their 1-for-1 average from last season.
Yeah.
Dream.
I'm still wondering if that Avant score isn't including, that game that they actually lost a game. It was actually, I think they couldn't connect, so they lost the game.
No, there was a.
The one game we couldn't talk about.
There was an email chain that went around saying that there's a ruling still being decided.
Oh, okay, all right.
Those teams will be notified what happened, but if I got the email for that, I don't recall what the answer was. But, but yeah, I think that'll be updated next week.
Sure.
We'll be able to talk about it then.
All right, so the game's coming this week. We've got Sin versus Absolute, Chiefs versus Direwolves. This is tomorrow, Thursday. Chiefs versus Direwolves, Immunity versus Sunfear, Avant versus Legacy. You got to say, if Immunity pull out the sort of performance they had on Monday, tomorrow it's going to be a really exciting season. So I'm looking forward to seeing Sunfear, who are looking. I mean, they're 0-5, but they've had some pretty decent games.
Yeah. And it's not like we've seen last season we had Fournot, and Fournot had just terrible drafting the entire time. Like for almost the entire season, Fournot's drafting was pretty bad. And that really put them at a severe disadvantage. We don't have that with Sunfear. Sure, they're 0-5, but they've looked strong almost every single game they've had. So it's like the numbers don't really tell the tale.
Yep. So Avant versus Legacy.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Avant versus Legacy. I mean, that's a pretty key game. Legacy have had 2 losses this week. If they want to try and get be positioned well for the end of the split, they really need to claw some of those games back. So, Be interesting to see how they go, and especially if Minky, who can be a bit of a tilty player, if he's had a bad couple of games or he's been picked on a lot, it'll be interesting to see if he can hold his composure for this game coming up.
Everyone, when you're gonna watch Legacy game live, just keep typing in chat Minky, please no stinky, and he'll be fine.
He should be fine. Is it like a voodoo ward?
I don't know.
If you say that over $1, his
I don't know.
image.
I went to a stream once, I think it was Minky's return game, and everyone was like, Minky, please no stinky. I thought it was hilarious. I enjoy dumb things.
I think that's technically cyberbullying, and I will not come out in support of it. Moving on.
Moving on. So next Monday, Direwolves versus Immunity, Legacy versus Sin, Absolute versus Avant, and Sudden Fear versus Chiefs. I think Sin will probably, it'd be a good. I mean, Legacy, they're good. I think it's a good chance for Sin to pick up a win over them, because I think Sin don't quite look top 4 material yet, so they need to beat someone like a Legacy to kind of really. Really kind of, show what they're made of. And Direwolves versus Immunity, I mean, that's a big game. If Immunity can win that, then, it's going to be good stuff. Alright. Well, that's OPL for week 3. Let's talk about patch 5.10.
Just quickly, choo-choos, please no poo-poos.
Yes,
Thank you, Miss Fish.
You're a legend, Miss Fish. A wordsmith.
Patch 5.10.
Patch 5.10. We're going to be doing the second half, so I'm going to start off with Sejuani when I get to it.
Now, I just want to say about the Sejuani changes. They didn't actually patch anything on Sejuani except for her tooltip in 5.10. The nerfs to her W, which Carrot will tell you in a second, didn't actually go through till 5.11, which has come out today. So this note is now in effect. When it come out, it wasn't in effect. So you were all psychologically, she
you were prepared.
Have her win rate at all.
Yeah.
So get fooled.
So Flail of the Northern Wind, so her W, it basically goes at the maximum level, goes from 10% to 6%, and then sort of, you lose 3% on the rank 4, and so on and so forth. So she's
lost 40% of her damage.
Yeah, a large chunk. But her CCC is really good. So, I mean, all this bonus damage was amazing, but in the end, you pick Sejuani. I mean, you pick Sejuani as a regular person because of the CC. Like, the damage for pros is what really probably pushed her over to being, one of the top junglers. But I think for regular people, you want the CC.
It's quite clear that they want you to choose Sejuani for the specific reason of CC, not the fact that she does CC and a crap ton of damage. So.
Yeah. I mean, 10% is a heck of a lot of damage. Like, that'd be one of the upper levels in terms of abilities that do that sort of max health damage. So it was a bit ridiculous.
What was Nidalee at? Nidalee was at 20% at one point.
Oh yeah, with her bushwhack. I'm so glad they got rid of that. That was brutal.
Gragas still has a pretty big. That's cool.
Yeah, he does.
No, I don't want to look at Corky. Gragas has a pretty big percent damage multiplier on his W, which goes up to something just absurd.
It's up to 12%, so it's between 8 and 12%.
12%, which is absurd, down to a 4-second cooldown.
Yep.
Huge...
As well as giving him damage reduction.
Yes.
So, I mean I know when they first changed that, that was the thing I remember thinking, man, that's crazy. So
yeah, I remember when they changed and everyone was like, oh, Gragas is dead. And I'm like,
yeah.
You see that percent damage?
Not 12% max health damage.
People were talking about Kha'Zix was one of the big champions back then, and I was playing Gragas one game, and this dude was Kha'Zix, and he's like, "Oh, Gragas is shit," and I said, "Kha'Zix," because he still had percentage damage on his Q. I said, "Kha'Zix, what's your percent damage on your Q?" And he said it's about 6% current HP. I said, "Mine's 12% max HP."
Yeah.
Take that shit out of here.
It's ridiculous. It's just crazy. And, by using the ability, it still gives him health. So, yeah, anyway. Well, Gragas, let's talk about...
Sejuani changes.
Sejuani changes, done that. Let's talk...
I want to talk about Taric, because,
Yeah.
We've got Victor on the
We
show.
got Victor on here.
What do you think of the Q buff?
So the Q buff, if you haven't seen it, is the mana cost has gone down between 2nd and 5th level.
Because it was outrageously high.
Yes.
It was crazy. I remember the first time. I remember when I was like, because I'm back on Tarek again. I got him up to level 5. I got him up to max rank 5. But when I was just spamming the crap out of him when I first discovered him, I remember I'd never maxed his heal till like 2nd or something like that. And I remember looking at it one day and being like, 140. That's like more expensive. Like the only spell in the game more expensive than that is like Requiem at 150 mana, and that's Karthus's ultimate, where he kills everyone on the map. So I mean, that was just absolutely absurd.
And I mean, it was probably not a terrible idea when he was still giving you back mana with every basic attack, because that was what his passive used to be. It used to, when you get hit, did an auto attack, you get mana back. So you'd essentially have so much mana regen. They had to sort of up the costs, otherwise you'd just be healing too much. But that ship has well and truly sailed.
Tarek's had like 3 different passives or 4 different passives at this point. Like they keep changing it, but no, we are in an age now where Tarek is casting very frequently. Don't you cough some like he's bad, whatever you're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't actually hear what you.
I see, because you shit. That's why.
It just sounded like you had like a conniption sneeze.
No, it's because well, they just haven't figured out, like, he's got a very old kit. They haven't figured out exactly what they want to do with him. He's got no clear identity. He's just got. He's essentially like a lot of champions used to be, which is they've got a bit of everything.
You know what? The big issue with Tarek at the moment is most of his power's hidden.
Yeah.
Like his ultimate, you get a big stat buff, but how do we know it's working? Or like Shatter, it destroys everyone's armor around him and he keeps it permanently down, but how do we know that's working? He gives everyone armor, how do we know that's working? I think really good visuals.
That's something they fixed with the Sona rework. Now you've got little snuggle zones with a specific color. It's really obvious.
Yeah, but they also changed the way Sona's abilities work. So she still does a lot of the same thing, like Sona's Q, I don't know what it's called, but used to give everyone damage when they stood near her. Now you couldn't really see where the range of that was or anything. It just gave you flat damage when it was active. Now that it's got the snuggle zone, if she hits it on you, your next attack will deal bonus damage, and you can clearly see that working. Like, it still does the same thing in hindsight to what it used to do, but now it's something you can clearly see working through visuals and just a change in the way it happens. So,
also, I mean, like, his issue is also that, he doesn't like, the supports basically, you've either got sort of pokey damage supports, you've got healing type supports, squishy healers, and then you've got tanky CC supports.
Yeah. And
Tarek doesn't really do any of those well. He doesn't heal that well. He's tanky, but he doesn't have great peel, and he's got one form of CC, and when it's gone, it is gone forever. Pretty much in a team fight. Like, its cooldown is really long.
He does have long cooldowns, but the way his passive works, you've always got a spell off cooldown as long as you're always fighting. But you have to always be fighting, and then that comes into issues with his mobility and whatever. I think big changes need to happen. He needs to get his visuals sorted out so you can, and everything needs to change so he works in similar ways, but you know what he's doing. It's not, this buffs everyone, but how far away do we stand? Am I actually getting this damage? I'm not sure. And also, he's got a scaling damage on his stun, where it's stronger the closer you are to them. And honestly, I think on a support, like, damage is unnecessary, especially on a support that doesn't really deal damage. I don't think that's really necessary.
I think a lot of his power is in the fact that it's point and click. So unlike most supports, which is some sort of skill shot or something like that, it's point and click, and I think that's what hinders their ability to change it so he has more CC available. I mean, essentially what's going to happen when they rework him is they're going to get rid of the heal. They'll keep the armor, the armor buffs in some way, and they'll make him more into a tanky support, more like a Leona or a Thresh or something like that, rather than kind of this weird hybrid. And I think just up until that point, he's going to have issues. Like, he is okay. Like, he's not great. He's not terrible. There's probably worse champions out in the game. But he just like it's always an opportunity cost where if there was almost no other champion you'd be. Yeah, if you want to play tank, there's better tanks. If you want to do healing, there's better healers. You know, like there's just no
point and click CC. There's better point and click CC.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse
so it's just
me. Do you want to fight?
No, I don't want to bring up Vi at all. I'm sorry.
right. Sorry, friend. Rise is in the game. Have you seen what Rise can do at the moment?
Hey,
he has the best point and click CC in the game.
Tarek's point and click stun gives him early power, not late power. There's a difference there.
And back in the day, like when I first started playing, that point and click was amazing because you point and click, you'd walk up your shatter, you hit him once, and then be half dead because the marksman get into him.
And there have been times where Tarek was one of the strongest champs in the game. I mean, his ultimate used to turn all his teammates into Dr. Mundo, plus give all the armor and whatever. But he is out of date.
That was back before the tower changed from doing raw AD damage to having like 90% armor penetration. You're like, oh well, bye Tarek.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll defend him mainly for the joke and because I play him and I really like him, but he's so out of date. Between the hidden power, and there's nothing I hate more than hidden power, and it's one thing that does make me sad about Tarek is that, come on guys, you've got like 35 more damage, come on, let's do it. And
actually,
no one
speaking of 35 more damage, that's a nice transition onto Ardent Sensor.
Yeah. We'll talk about Ancient Coin first, because that's actually Ardent Sensors.
But then my
TLD. Okay, fine, we'll do here's the transition. Ardent Sensors is still not worth buying over other things. There we go, we're done. Let's move on. No. So Ardent Sensor change, I actually don't mind. So the change is now you have the attack speed buff is reduced slightly. So it goes from 25% bonus attack speed to 15, but you grant 30 magic damage on hit, which is pretty good if you think about early game. The main issue is you'd have to rush this item, and why would you rush this item over anything else? And even if 30 magic damage per hit wasn't even if you accept that is good, and it is, would you still pick Ardent Sensor over anything else? Would you pick it over Sightstone? Would you pick it over your support item? Would you pick it over Mikhail's? Well, no. The amount of times you get beyond that point is very low. You're just better off buying something else apart from Ardent Sensor.
Yeah. When I wasn't on this podcast when the Ardent Sensor first came out, but I think a pro player was on the show and he said Ardent Sensor. You know, why don't you just get Zeke's? Why don't you just was it T-Gun?
Yeah, it was T-Gun.
Okay. I listened to that episode again quite recently.
Why wouldn't you just buy Zeke's Herald? It does the same thing, and Zeke's Herald's trash, so this item must be trash too.
And that was the episode I realized I shouldn't buy Zeke's Herald because he said that. I went, yeah, you're right. It is kind of trash now that I think about it, because I was actually buying Zeke's Herald a bit. I mean, the build path is okay. The overall cost is okay. You know, it's 40% ability power. It's got management regen. It's got cooldown reduction. It's got move speed.
I built it on armor and I didn't mind it. I mean, I built this is Hexakill, to be honest. I mean, I was building Ardent Sensor on like Karma and being like, I can kind of notice this, but
it's not Omewrecker. Like it's
Excuse me. Omewrecker is great.
Omewrecker is terrible. Omewrecker is by far the worst item in the game. Even though the stats are great, it's still a terrible item.
I just like Raptor's Cloak, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think it's another case of hidden power. It's got the little red line on the person's hands, but you still don't really notice it.
And you just don't know, when would you buy it? Like, when is it? Like, the 30 magic damage is really good early. Like, that would be... If you could get that, it sort of... when you're still in the laning phase, it'd be awesome. Like, you'd kick ass with it. Except it's probably too expensive, and you wouldn't build it before anything else. Like,
I think it'd be alright in a double AD comp on an Alistar. Purely for tower sieging in the mid to late game. Like, because it gives an attack speed buff and it gives everybody in team 30 magic damage on hit.
Yeah, but the magic damage is not going to do... Does it hurt towers?
It'll hit towers. It hits towers.
Yeah, the same way
I was using
Ziggs and Oriana. Yeah, Ziggs and Oriana take down towers with magic damage, so yeah, this item would be no different.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, so it'd be... Yeah, that's a very niche situation, but if you've got like a Corki Cogmore or Corki Ezreal or something similar to that, and you've got quite a lot of attack damage on your team, that added magic, like they're going to be building primarily armor against your team anyway, so you'll be getting more benefit out of the magic damage due to the enemy team itemization. Now, that's a possibility. But everything that you said about other items being better in more situations is still going to be true.
Yep. This is a buff to the item. It's just not enough to actually make it worth buying.
Yeah. I think rather than giving attack speed and extra damage on hit, I think I'd rather it if you use your heal and then their next attack will deal a bonus 40 magic damage, and it's just that attack.
So like a proxy sheen.
Yes.
So like I use an ability, your damage goes up. That'd be weird.
Well, that's what this is now. I mean, 30 magic damage on hit, and I mean the duration I think is pretty good. Is it just one attack, or is it? I thought it might be.
No, it's for the duration.
Yeah.
So but it's important.
So 6 seconds.
Alistair
potentially a lot of damage.
The effect no longer works on minions.
Yeah.
Previously, he was able to attack speed buff the entire minion wave, but with the new change, as they say in the patch notes, plus 30 magic damage on hit for an entire group wave would be obnoxious.
It'd be hilarious. That would make it worth buying. You would absolutely, if that actually did happen, you would absolutely buy it as Alistair every game. Because you just destroy towers, like just by yourself. You just find a bunch of minions and run down there. It'd be way better than Banner of Command.
Yeah. Blade of the Ruin King. I didn't actually realize what they changed. I just knew it was in the patch notes, but this has been relevant for 2 patches now. But Blade of the Ruin King, they've increased the cast range on the speed.
On them active.
Stat and the damage, yeah.
Which is funny because that was one of the things they nerfed first when they wanted to start reining it in.
Well, that's going to be huge because for champions like Jax and Zed, like that additional range was what made them ridiculous. And after that nerf, we saw them drop out of favor, like Jax almost completely, and then Zed, in some circumstances rather than pick ban every game. So this is actually a huge deal. Like it actually explains why we've seen some Jax and oh, that's right, we skipped over Ancient Coin. My bad. Yeah, that explains why we've been seeing a bit more Jax lately. I didn't actually see that in the patch notes before, so
maybe you should read harder.
Just going back into patch notes of old, patch 3.10 was when they changed it from 550 to 450. It was one of the first things they nerfed. Yeah. So that's it's funny that it's come back upon itself.
It's back.
It's back. Let's talk about a support item you actually want to buy, which is Ancient Coin. So Ancient Coin, it's the bonus gold you get for a minion death is increased by 1 across the board, I think. Yep. So you get 1 more gold from 2 to 3 for Ancient Coin, and then Nomads and Talisman 3 to 4. The gold collection range is increased for Nomad's Medallion, so this is the tier 2 version.
Range now.
Yep. The health per nearby minion doubles from 5 to 10. The mana regen doubles. And the active cooldown on Talisman, and I think in some ways this is the biggest one, goes from 60 seconds to 40 seconds, which is that's amazing. So Ancient Coin was already pretty good. Like it wasn't outstanding, but the ultimate, like the active is just like the best active in the game. But now it's pretty darn nice, especially when you go to that Nomads and you get the increased health regen and mana regen. It's gonna make those support, because there's not that many supports that use Ancient Coin. I actually like it on Thresh, and I think because I'm terrible at last hitting with Thresh because his auto attack is absolute friggin' balls. So Relic Shield is just no point doing that, but. Yeah, I mean, like I think with someone like a Bard, like this is going to hugely increase his viability. Janna,
I kind of want to just bring up why we've seen less Talisman of Ascensions in pro play than otherwise that we'd seen previously, and it's the introduction of Righteous Glory. Because you can get that speed buff on such an amazing item on the champions that need it, and like the tank meta just kind of came out of nowhere with the introduction of Cinderhulk, that this item was really beneficial to champions that had become viable there. So you didn't really need Talisman of Ascension anymore. And Severe is actually quite viable with everything that's happened in the AD section of things. So that the item was never bad. It was just that you could get that speed buff from other places with better gold efficiency. So these changes may help bring that to light, but generally, if you're going down the route of needing a speed boost, you've got it in your comp somewhere else. So, but this, if the change to this is significant enough, it could bring back champions that don't buy Righteous Glory. But if you didn't have it previously, you were putting yourself at a disadvantage. So that's really where, you've got to weigh the things up. Like, do we need Talisman, or would the Shield be better, or would the Frost Queen's Slate be better?
I think this brings in what you could call the teleportation meta, which is you've got Sivir, you've got Hecarim, you've got Righteous Glory, you've got Talisman. You basically go 3 actives all at once. You're going about 400,000 million miles an hour. And then Hecarim uses his E, and then he's going even faster. Oh, and you have Janna with Moby Boots and Captain's Enchant. And maybe if you go with the thing of Iron, the Elixir of Iron, so she gives and you just... Basically, you teleport across the map. I think we need to make that a thing.
Everyone stands on altar while Hecarim has his home guard running.
Yeah, that's it.
Teleports somewhere, and just before he gets there, everyone activates the speed boost, and Hecarim moves at 1 billion miles an hour.
That's it. It's like the ultimate
and then one shot your
ultimate scaling Malphite movement, where you actually look, you're theoretically moving, but you're actually just teleporting across the map. No, I mean, I don't think you'd. There's probably a few supports you might choose to now build ancient, particularly with the mana regen increase. Like, I think there's probably maybe
Nami springs to my mind.
Yeah, Nami. Probably not Lulu. I think Sona. Like, I personally prefer this on Sona just because with the way her Q works, it's too easy to proc to kill a minion and then put spell thieves on cooldown.
Sona's issue is Annie's ult is more reliable as a team fight stun, so Annie's normally more favored than Sona.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Well, with the recent change to Annie's range, we're not sure if that's even true anymore.
Yeah, I can't imagine seeing that much Annie in the bottom lane, but yeah. Oh, anyway, let's talk about the utility masteries, and then we'll be able to just get started. We'll dip our toes in the water of 5.11.
They increase the range on Banner of Command. Now we can move on.
Yeah,
it matches its aura range now, so you can activate it. Yeah.
Don't buy Banner of Command; it's no good. Except that actually, no, it's good in one circumstance: ARAMs when they've got all magic uses. Then it's hilarious.
What's wrong with Banner of Command?
It's a good item. You just wouldn't build it over anything else.
No, it's a good item that you build when you need it.
It's for when they've got one champion that has good wave clear, and you're ahead, and that way you can just build Banner of Command and eliminate that wave clear.
And then he can't.
Well,
exactly. But there's also the first item you rush against Singed is Banner of Command, and he's useless. It's funny.
Yeah, I guess.
Vlad as well. But Vlad's auto attack's not bad, Singed is pure melee.
Yeah.
It just shuts him down.
I mean,
it's shocking.
Again, opportunity cost. Would you build Banner of Command over almost anything else in the game?
Against a Singed, yes, I would.
Anyway.
Just like, I turn you off, buddy. Goodbye.
Anyway, let's look at utility masteries. So basically, they've changed. Well, one of the big ones I think is meditation. So this is all in the utility masteries. It's gone from 1, 2, or 3 regen per 5 to 0.5, 1.5 missing mana per 5 seconds, which is basically a free chalice. Well, half a free chalice. Something like that. I'm trying to think what chalice of harmony now.
Chalice is 1.5 from memory.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's been a while since I've had to look at it. I just went, that's OP, and moved on with my life.
So it's 2%. It used to be 1.5, now it's 2.
That's buffed.
Because I've buffed it. So basically, almost a free chalice, which is amazing. The expanded mind. So this is actually, they've actually swapped these two positions as well. So it used to be that you had the mana regen per 5, and then you went up and you had the increased maximum mana. Now those two are reversed. Now it grants you 25, 50, 75 mana. Yeah, okay, that's alright. I guess if it'll help a little bit at level 1. So inspiration was the XP regen, and now it gives you just a flat 10, 20 experience every 10 seconds instead of when you had to be near an allied champion, which I like because particularly with someone like a bard or someone who's roaming. you know, you're not always going to be near an allied champion that is a higher level. And heck, even in bottom lane, if you think about it, it's quite possible not to be with somebody at a higher level, even though the rest of the team is going crazy.
Even when you just run around to go and ward a little bit, you eventually fall behind as a support.
Yeah.
Supports always fall behind in levels.
Yeah, quite often you can see like teen, mid, and level 7 support. You know, like it can really get out of control really fast. Like, and those are in like winning games. You know, it's not like even if you're snowballing hard in the bot lane, the experience you're still trailing far behind because your AD carry is soloing a lane while you're warding the dragon in the blue. You know, on the way up to the mid lane, and he's just finished pushing a wave. Like that's like 2 or 3 waves worth of experience you've missed out on, and it really does add up very quickly. So, yeah, good for supports.
It might help. I don't know if it's going to be amazing, though. I don't think it's going to be back.
I mean,
no, well, it's not going to get rid of that problem, but it should help.
It'll help, but I mean, I don't take inspiration ever at the moment, and I don't know, like per 10 to me, unless it's like 1 billion per 10.
Well, maybe this change has inspired you to do so.
Maybe no, it hasn't. Okay. Bandit. I like me some Bandit.
Looks awesome.
This is my GP support that I've been playing lately. Oh, I make so much money. It's great. Spell Thief and a Bandit. Pew, billion gold every hit. I'm loving it.
Sorry, I was just thinking of the utility masteries. So just to get back to the inspiration one, like, it's either, I mean, you have the choice between inspiration, so the XP one, or buying into meditation because you percentage of missing mana. So I can't really see picking the extra XP over the extra mana, the mana regen. I mean, 1% missing mana regen every 5 seconds is pretty darn good for a lot of supports. So
especially for a mastery point. Oh my God.
For 2 points in masteries, like to get you to the next level. Heck, even to be honest, like you take it over probably the extra cooldown even.
Meditation's a 3-point mastery.
Yeah, it goes up to 3, but if you want to just do 21 in your support masteries...
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know, like, you basically choose between that or intelligence, which is the cooldown reduction. The CDR, it's CDR and reduces the cooldown of activated items. You know, I'd probably take the missing...
In the same patch as the 40-second cooldown on the Talisman Ascension. That's...
Yeah, I'd probably just take... I wouldn't... Yeah, I wouldn't bother with the inspiration just because percentage is better. Anyway, sorry. Bandits. What we were up to? We were up to
Bandits.
Wanderer is the one we're up to.
We should call it Pickpocket, they reckon, because it grants 8 gold each time an enemy champion is attacked. That's a 5-second cooldown.
The reason they said that is because this mastery used to exist in season 1, and it was called Pickpocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that neither of those circumstances are particularly... Like, either the champions... So the previous version was... Gave you 15 gold on kills and assists. You know, you're not going to be auto-attacking a whole lot, even if you're melee. So it's kind of half of one... You know, half of one end.
You know, this mastery change here is it's probably the reason they nerfed Annie's range when they did.
Yeah. Because
Annie's auto-attack range has been huge for ages. We've talked about it previously. That would have made her have a distinct advantage over someone like a Thresh or...
Well, except that she's ranged.
This change is for melee champions in particular. That's why it's great for my GP, because his Q counts as a melee.
Yeah, sure. If you want to go 20, you know, like 18 deep in the utility tree.
Yeah, on GP, then I just
16 deep.
Tank GP all the way, and I make so much money. Intelligence reduces the cooldown of activatable items by 8, 14, and then 20% if you put a 3rd point in it.
This is huge. Like,
that's big cooldown.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so that hasn't upgraded. All right. Well, that is a choice because I was looking at the page for what is it? The utilities on Riot's website, and it hasn't updated for that patch. So. Yeah, that's heaps better.
It's a 32-second cooldown if you take intelligence and the Talisman of Ascension. Every 32 seconds you can...
Does that affect the cooldown of Sweeper? That would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably. And something like McHale's as well. I mean, that's That's a huge because Mikhail's has got a really long cooldown. Like its cooldown is, what is the cooldown? So it's
Now it doesn't
180
specifically say, but it
seconds.
does say reduces the cooldown of activated items. But when you look at something like Frost Queen's Claim, that when you deal damage to an enemy champion, you get gold, and that has a certain cooldown. I think it reduces that as well.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
already got such a short cooldown.
but I mean,
Yeah,
something like
but
Mikhail's, it gives you, it's half a minute. It takes away half a minute of cooldown. 36 seconds off the cooldown for Mikhail's, and that's huge.
That's a
Because
lot of
Mikhail's
seconds.
is a huge, like, having that up more often is a massive thing.
Well, yeah, Mikhail's is a very clutch item.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that makes an interesting choice between going for. Actually, yeah, that I would max intelligence. So go 2 points in the expanded mind.
I mean, it depends, really, on who you're playing and what you typically would be building on that champion. I mean, they're both great. Like, I mean, I'd probably take like meditation on my Alistar or something, and then probably take intelligence on, I don't know, my Janna or my Karma. Do you want to talk about Wanderer? The last mastery point.
Yes.
Okay, so Wanderer, rather than granting 5% increased movement speed, it now grants a flat 20 movement speed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's out of combat only.
Yes.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's 5% itself wasn't very much, and 20 isn't really more.
Yeah, but 20 is good early, and that's what you that's what you want.
It's also going to work
It's
better
also
with percentage
just-
increases. So,
But
if you rush a speed 5 boots or whatever, then you will get better benefit of this early than you will out of a 5% increase.
it's also out of combat movement though.
Yeah,
And
which
like-
is fine
Yeah.
for like a bard or a roaming Alistair or
Yeah,
people.
Well,
who
most
are gonna be
supports
buying-
build boots and mobility, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
most of the time because when you're warding, you need to be able to move around out of combat. I mean, that's why boots and mobility is
Because
so
if you
good,
get
because
caught out, you
it's
can lose
easy
the
to go
game.
from wherever you are to ward and then back. Because even in the early stages, being able to, in fact, boots and mobility are probably less useful. Actually, boots and mobility is useful all through the game because you're constantly moving away from the team to go place a ward near Dragon or near Baron or to do this or do that. So the out of combat speed is really helpful.
Well, for a 21st point in a mastery tree, I don't want extra movement speed. I don't want 20 more movement speed. That's not much.
To be honest, I can't see anything at 9 points, at the 10th point in your defensive masteries that's going to make it worth, like, anything better. So, you put your 9 points in your defensive, and then you go, what? 2 points of armor, 2 points of magic resist, or reducing damage taken from impaired movement by 3%. Nothing there is worth taking.
So, I think you will find...
Or 1.2%.
That you put that point in Butcher from the offensive tree. Thank you.
Yes, that's clearly it. I need it for Thresh so I can actually proc that relic shield. So that's where I've gone wrong this whole time. Should have realized I needed Butcher.
Oh, I should have known.
Yeah, should have known.
God
Should've
damn.
known. Bad me. I'm a bad person.
Are we going to cover the super minion change?
Yeah. So magic resist on super minions is gone from 40 to minus 30. So a 70 MR reduction, which is pretty huge.
This is another inadvertent buff to Banner of Command.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, well, no. Banner Command don't work on supers.
Yeah, that does.
You can't activate it on supers to reduce
Really?
all magic damage. You can't. No. Doesn't work on supers because that would be overpowered as shit.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Crazy overpowered. No, I remembered many games where I'm like, okay, my friend Ben, who plays Lux all the time, Ben, go defend the base. I'm gonna go and take them all on and win the game or whatever. And then the base gets destroyed because he couldn't clear the super minions as Lux.
Yeah.
Personally, I just
problems
think
with
Ben's a
Lux.
noob. Personally, I just think Ben's a noob.
Yeah. So is it actually going from 30 to... So is it from 40 to 30 or to 40 to minus 30? Because minus 30 MR means that you're doing, like, more than true damage.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
you are
written
doing
as minus
increased
30
damage.
in the patch notes.
It is
Yeah.
minus 30.
Is
It's
it?
minus 30. That's
But the
thing.
actual text says we're reducing a bit of that MR.
Yeah, because that just seems
You know,
like completely ridiculous.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's minus 30.
Alright, hang on. Legends Wiki. Let's have a look. Attack
So
damage,
I
armor...
will start.
Magic
again
resistance
right
is
now.
minus 30. There you go. Okay. Because I was with you, Steve. I was like, the text says
yeah.
slightly reduced, and it's like actually no,
Yeah.
you're going minor. You get really more than true damage with.
Let me tell you
Could you
something
imagine
about
if they
my
used that
defense.
same language with champions? You're
Yeah.
We felt that Maokai is a bit strong, so we're going to be reducing his magic resist a tiny bit, going from 35 to minus 60 or something.
Yeah. They'd probably describe the nerfs to Elise as slight. You know, she was really overpowered. Now she's completely crap. I'd say slight nerf though. Anyway,
That's Rico Games for you.
I think that actually probably does it for this. Well, we're done with this patch notes. I think
We're done with the patch
we're out of
notes.
time as well. So patch 511.
Oh, no, we're done.
Hey, guess what, guys?
511
Hexakilled
just
Twisted
made.
Treeline was on patch 510. It's come and gone.
So if anyone wants to play Twisted Treeline,
Tough luck.
you can't.
Yeah, you missed out.
It's been passed.
If you were sitting waiting to hear from us that Hexakilled Twisted Treeline has come to OCE, and you I'm sorry to disappoint you, it is now gone.
You've been taunting people about that for ages too.
Yeah.
You're a mean person.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Episode 90. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking more OPL week 4. And we'll be talking patch 511. So make sure you tune in from 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on this Twitch channel if you're doing live. And of course, we release on Fridays for the podcast. So thanks for joining us. And we'll be back again next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.